Here we are at the CSAS soccer football field, and this here is the fruit of years of student work where kids have over time added to an ongoing project of solar power being brought to our school. We have two systems here that are always works in progress, but are always delivering. Over on this side here, we have several solar panels that are performing a collective job of bringing up to about 2,000 watts or 2 kilowatts of power that are being grid tied to the school's electrical system. Let's take a look at what that is. So, underneath each one of these panels are what are called micro grid tie inverters, and their job is to turn the low voltage to a higher voltage alternating current of the rating that is in pretty much all homes and businesses in the United States, which is 120 volts alternating current. So this is the fruit of a lot of very high-tech technology that created these devices around the 1990s and has become pretty much the standard for solar in urbanized and suburban locations where a solar user is wanting to simply add power to the existing grid that their local power company provides. Over here is a panel that is putting out about 250 watts, and this is the main power supply for what is called a standalone system that we'll be taking a look at in just a second. This is not tied into the grid. This is a separate system that can keep running on its own during times if the power grid were to go down. Now, we aren't trying to replace all the power of the school, but this is an example of what is called standalone, which is still used a lot in very rural locations where the user may not have access to the power grid. So back in about 2015, some of our students in our energy systems classes built this array. And when we mean built it, we're talking built from scratch. This framework was cut and welded together by the students. They sunk the posts, they poured the concrete, they leveled the frame. They got the panels on here, and from there they built the main connection and fuse shutoffs. At this point, the DC shutoff, emergency fusing, and then they buried what is called a trunk line that went 18 inches. They dug this with a ditch witch. You can barely see evidence of where the digging was. And from there, they added this, which is our main AC disconnect. That eventually goes to the main breaker from which where it attaches to the grid. So what am I talking about when I say the grid? We're talking about the main distribution of power in a community. In Chattanooga, it's EPB. And so this is a system of power that goes all the way from TVA generating power at Sequoia or the Chickamauga Dam, to a distribution system of substations, to these wires that are transmitting high voltage to the school, and then we have the main breaker box inside that all of the power gets distributed to at 120 and 240 volts AC to individual rooms where you can plug in lights and tools and what have you. And this is where it ties in from the solar back there. So right now we have the system on. And so if we needed to shut the connection of the system out there to the breaker box, we just simply throw this switch and then we are able to open the box. So the power is stopping here. And so this is a crucial safety feature that you always want to have. You always want to have at different points in any electrical system a way to shut it off safely. One other feature that is really important in solar is taking account of the fact that solar is getting its energy from the sun. And other light sources like lightning can come around that can really do some damage if we aren't careful. And so what this is that this is like an oil type canister that acts as a way to absorb voltage spikes. And so it sort of takes the high power hit rather than the breaker box inside. So this is one of the many safety features that we add to solar, because we're having to account for the fact that the sun and lightning are quite variable types of power signals that can be unpredictable and thus can cause some damage if we don't have these safety checks in place.